Good afternoon. We'll be breaking away in just a moment to Governor David Ige, who will be signing an expedited bill passed by the Hawaii legislature in order to give businesses a break on how much they have to pay into the Unemployment Compensation Fund. This was a rushed measure to try to give businesses a break before what otherwise could have been as much as a tripling of their unemployment tax rate due to the unprecedented volume of claims the past year in the COVID economic meltdown. What happened was hundreds of thousands of people claiming unemployment since March of 2020, and some even a little bit earlier, drained all of the reserves that employers had already paid in. Even above that, the state government had to go to the feds for a loan of $750 million just to patch the difference. And people are still claiming it's at this rate. The employers' contributions, those who are back in business, are not keeping up with the demand of how much has to be paid out. And so if this expedited measure that the governor is about to sign had not been passed, the employers, the businesses that were just hit this whole entire year, most of them forced to shut down against their will, they would have been the very ones having to pay in to rescue the tapped out unemployment fund. Now, what this bill does is it drastically lowers the increase in unemployment taxes that employers will see for this year to just essentially a smidgen above last year rather than a tripling that some of those businesses could have seen. It's a major relief bill and really the first bill to come out of the legislative session that's not even over yet. But the governor picked this one out to encourage to get through the legislative review onto his desk and for his signature today. And again, what we'll be breaking away to momentarily is a bill signing ceremony to go over this measure, and the the director of the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations, under which the employment division is, will be there as well. Here's the governor now.
Thank you so much for joining us here this afternoon. This week marks the 1 year since the first case of COVID-19 appeared here in Hawaii. The travel quarantine and aggressive actions to encourage work from home has helped us protect the health and safety of our community. And I do appreciate everyone taking personal responsibility by wearing your masks, watching your distance, and staying home when you're sick. All of these have made a tremendous contribution. And today, Hawaii continues to lead the nation with the lowest per capita rate of infections and the lowest rate of fatalities in the country. And it really is because of all of us working together. Over the course of the year, the pandemic has had tremendous impact on every aspect of our lives. One of the biggest challenges has been for employers, and we've seen the dramatic increase in the unemployment rate here in Hawaii. Before the pandemic hit last year, we were experiencing one of the best years on record for the state of Hawaii. The Unemployment Compensation Trust Fund had a reserve of over $500 million. By June, it was drained to nothing, and we began borrowing from the federal government. Of course, we will have to pay that loan back. To help the business community, though, we will be, and it's included in our budget that we presented to the legislature, the state will be paying the interest owed on that loan. It comes out to about $30 million a year at this point in time. We do know that it's so important for us to help our businesses and employers because they are a critical part of our economic recovery. We are hopeful that another federal aid package will be passed. And there have been various proposals to help businesses in that package that we know will be important for the recovery of our economy. But still, the legislature and I as governor recognize the need that is represented in House Bill 1278 relating to the unemployment insurance contribution schedule. This measure allows businesses to pay on average, less than half of what they would otherwise have to pay into the unemployment system. In 2021, the average Schedule H taxes on employers would have been $1,800 per employee per year. This bill reduces the average tax to $850, saving every employer $950 per year per employee. In 2022, the average would have been, the average tax would have been $1,670 per employee per year. This bill reduces the average tax to $790, saving the employer $880 per employee per year. I really do want to thank the legislature. We both agreed very early on that we needed to provide relief to our employers, the businesses, and many small businesses who would be dramatically impacted if we did not take action so quickly. If we did not act and get to this point today, employers would have been hit with very high unemployment contributions, especially when they could least afford it. This is another instance of the legislative and executive branches coming together to help contain the economic fallout from COVID-19. Joining us today is Senator Brian Taniguchi, Chair of the House Labor Committee, and Representative Richard Onishi, who introduced the bill and has been committed to helping businesses all across the state. And they will be saying a few words this afternoon. There is no doubt, without this intervention, as encompassed in House Bill 1278, many of the state's businesses would have continued to incur difficulties in bringing back employees. This measure will ensure more businesses are able to survive this crisis and rehire their employees once they can safely return to work. Also joining us this afternoon is Director Ann Pereira-Estacio, who will walk us through the bill and provide a description of what it would mean to our employers. And also joining us this afternoon, I want to thank Ross and Stephanie Anderson. They will be sharing their experience. They are the owners of the Waioli Kitchen and Bake Shop in Manoa, and they would want to share what this measure would do for them. So thank you for joining us. I'll now turn this over to Director Pereira-Estacio.
Thank you, Governor, and good afternoon. I just want to go over some of the different aspects of the bill and how these aspects of this bill will affect employers and what it will do to help stimulate the economy here in Hawaii. So Act 1, House Bill 1278, will allow the department to omit benefit charges when we do our annual rate calculation for employers. On a normal basis, we would experience an employer using their reserves for the prior year, any contributions they paid into their benefit account, and any charges that were charged to them because of the unemployment insurance aspect of 2020. We will not be taking into account the 2020 benefit charges. And so that'll help employers receive a higher reserve ratio, which will provide them with a better unemployment insurance rate or a lower rate, which will help them to continue to bring their employees back to work and have them help the community recover from the pandemic. We're going to be rating employers this coming weekend. So March 6th, we are going to run annual rating for all employers. Employers just need to log on to their unemployment insurance employer account, and they'll be able to access their new rates for the new year and determine what it'll take to continue to bring back employees to help them move forward with their company. The benefit charges that we are not going to be taking into account when we calculate their rates will also provide them with an opportunity to continue to bring on additional employees when those employees are needed when we start getting back to normalcy. Also, setting the tax schedule to D over Schedule H. So every year, annually, the Department of Labor will calculate what we call the schedule for that new year. We have 8 tax schedules, Schedule A through H. A is the lowest tax schedule, and H is the highest. And so we would have gone to H if we didn't take these measures to help employers and to help the economy. And so we're moving to Schedule D. Schedule D will provide employers with the lowest rate of 0.2% and the highest rate of 5.8%. On Schedule H, we would have had to bring the lowest rate to 2.4% and the highest rate to 6.5%. We're also helping employers who just want to start up a company in Hawaii and become a new employer. The new employer rate would go from a 5.2 on Schedule H to a 3% rate on Schedule D. In Act 1, we'll also be able to mitigate the impact on nonprofit employers. So we have employers in the state of Hawaii who are 501c3 companies who choose to be self-financing or reimbursable employers. These employers will be given a 50% reduction in their charges from March 15, 2020 to March 30th, 2021. And so they'll be cut 50% on what benefit charges they would have had to pay if they had to pay the full tax in effect. Also, I just want to go over a couple of updates on the unemployment insurance scene. So we have a call center, and in that call center, we've been experienced some issues with what we call auto calling. And these auto callers have been coming in on a daily basis and pretty much kicking out individuals who don't have an auto caller to get into our system. So one of the changes we're going to be making, or what we're going to be implementing to help continue to service our clientele, is those individuals who either get kicked out or are not able to be serviced on a particular day. We will have a group of individuals, staff members, that will be reaching out to these claimants and giving them a call. So if you had called and you were not able to get through the center, we are going to be reaching out and calling claimants in order to help them with their outstanding claims. The other announcement I'd like to make today is that Hawaii has officially triggered off extended benefits. So Hawaii triggered on extended benefits in May of 2020. In May of 2020, we were provided with an additional 13 weeks of benefits. As of March 6th, this Saturday, will be the last payable week for extended benefits. So claimants will no longer be eligible to receive what we call extended benefits. These claimants will automatically move over to what we call PEUC2, the 11 weeks of additional benefits. Also, with this extended benefit program, we will make sure that no claimant will have to reactivate an account or work on their account internally. We will move them over seamlessly. The last thing I wanted to discuss was I wanted to thank the governor and the legislative session for helping us move through this bill, as well as all of the employers and employer groups that have helped us to get this bill where it is today, and also to get it signed today prior to annual rating running on March 6th. Because if we didn't get it signed by March 6th, the impact on employers would have been great. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director. Our next speaker, Senator Brian Taniguchi. Senator.
Aloha, everyone. House Bill 1278 is a very important bill. It's important not only for employers, but it's for our entire community in the sense that it creates a level of stability among all our Hawaii employers. More importantly for me is that I think we were able to work together, the governor, Ann, and the Department of Labor, my colleagues in the House, to get a bill out so that we could meet the deadline of March 6th and get the rates to employers in a timely manner. And so with that, very happy that it's being signed today, and very happy to be a part of this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Representative Richard Onishi.
Aloha and good afternoon. I first wanted to thank our House leadership for allowing me as the chair of the House Labor and Tourism Committee to represent the House of Representatives on this auspicious occasion. This is a tremendous step that we in the House recognized early before the session that we needed to do something to help to rebuild our economy. And this is the first in a number of measures that we are working on to address that situation. I'd like to also thank the governor and the Department of Labor and my colleague, Senator Taniguchi, for working so closely together so that we were able to expedite this legislation and get it passed for the deadline that's looming March 6th. Again, we are very supportive of our business community, and there are other measures that we are working on to assist them as we move forward to rebuild the economy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Representative. Ross and Stephanie Anderson, our next speakers, owners of Waioli Kitchen and Bake Shop.
Aloha. I'm Ross Anderson. Together with my wife Stephanie, we run Waioli Kitchen and Bake Shop. And I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to be here as this very important piece of legislation becomes the law. To that point, we'd like to acknowledge and thank Governor Ige, Senate President Kikuchi, Speaker Saiki, Representative Onishi for initiating this bill, and for Senator Taniguchi to run point in the Senate. So thank you very much. This bill was needed, and you guys all acted very decisively to get this done in a timely manner. So thank you so much for that. The clock was ticking for small businesses out there, and we were holding our collective breath that this could get done, and you all really came together and made it happen. So to each of you, thank you. Waioli Kitchen and Bake Shop is a small restaurant that operates in the Manoa campus of the Salvation Army. We serve breakfast and lunch, and our mission is to provide vocational training to men and women, mostly women who are coming out of substance abuse treatment or out of the or having been recently incarcerated. We believe that it takes a community to heal the community, and we are striving to be that safe place where these individuals can begin to become who they were always meant to be. This past year has been particularly hard on small businesses like ours, because in order to survive, we had no choice but to just carry on and keep going. Most of us don't have the option to close down and ride it out, and neither did our staff. We've been on a roller coaster ride of rapidly changing conditions. Some of them have come in the form of regulations, some of them in openings and closures, and all of them came with a cost. And our customer base has been drastically reduced and restricted in one manner, shape, or form or another. This bill being signed today has got a threefold benefit to small businesses like ours. There's the obvious cost savings, as Ann pointed out, of having a lower rate schedule set for the next 2 years. The second one is waiving that experience modifier, which will have a significant impact on some industries, particularly hard hit, and will give them a fighting chance to recover. So that's very significant. And the last thing that Senator Taniguchi mentioned is being predictable. It's been a very unpredictable year, and in business, that's not good. So we faced all manner of different changes, many of them coming with very little notice, and this gives us one measure of stability in an area that was largely out of our control. So that was very significant. Thank you. In general, small businesses are self-reliant. We're not looking for someone else to solve problems for us. But yet this payroll tax that was coming up was certainly a problem that was outside of our control, and you guys have made this far better than it could have been. This sort of action prevented a real devastating increase, and we're able to focus now on growing our businesses again, hiring back more of our staff, and continuing that mission of training them for the future. The last people or group that I'd like to give a shout out to is ProService. They provide our HR services, and I feel like they've done a great job of educating the small business community that they are associated with. I think that they've been in contact with you at the legislature and just brought a level of understanding and how we could get involved and be part of this conversation. And you guys were so great to allow us into that and be part of that solution. The bottom line is that we're all in this together, and we are very grateful that you, our elected officials, were able to come alongside the needs of the small business community and enact such a commendable bill in such a timely manner. So to that, we say thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anderson. With that, we'll open it up to questions from the media. Please raise your hands virtually on Zoom if you have any questions for any of our speakers. We'll go first to Annalisa Burgos, KITV4. Annalisa, go ahead. Oops, go ahead, Annalisa.
Okay,
there
I'm unmuted now. Okay. Thanks, Jody. This is for Governor. Governor, in speaking to some of the small businesses that would be impacted by this law, they say that the root of the issue for unemployment and bringing people back to work are the COVID restrictions, especially for businesses that work that rely on visitors, that rely on tourism. A lot of them are still shut down because they just can't open with travel restrictions in place. I know in your last EO, you had approved the ability to allow fully vaccinated people to bypass the quarantine, but we have not heard a launch date for that yet. Can you tell us when you think you can allow that to begin and perhaps allow these businesses to bring back more of their workers?
Yes, on the White House call this morning with Jeffrey Zients, who's the White House COVID coordinator, I specifically asked the CDC director, Dr. Walensky, about those who are fully vaccinated and their status from travel. They said that they are studying that question. And the scientists are asking the question about whether someone who is vaccinated is able to carry the virus, and then from a travel perspective, whether they would in fact be transmitting the virus to other people. And the data is not clear yet, and they do not have a recommendation to make at this point in time. I did ask about what that timetable would be. And they stress how important, from their perspective, to get it right in order to protect the health of the communities. I did review the CDC website and guidance on travel, and right now the CDC is recommending that travel be restricted. No one should be traveling except to take care of essential businesses. And so we continue to advocate and work with the CDC. We're committed to following the science and the recommendations of the public health. It's very clear that we cannot have economic recovery without the health and safety of our community. And certainly we'll be following the guidance offered by the CDC.
Thank you very much, Governor. Reporters, we ask that you stick to the topic of HB 1278. We will get to off-topic questions once the bill is signed. Daryl Huff, HNN. Go ahead.
Okay, two questions. One is, what is the current payment people are making now? I'd like to know whether it's going down from what they're paying now or whether it's going up from what they're paying now, and what will be the budget gap that's created by the state backfilling that amount.
Daryl, is your question for Director Herrera?
I think it's more for the governor because of the or whoever can answer the question about the specific amount of payment, whether it's going up or down, and also the total budget hole, which I think is more of a governor question.
Well, Darrell, I guess the best way I can answer that, if the bill was not passed and if I didn't sign it into law, beginning in 2021 and starting this weekend, as required by law, the department would run all of the procedures and processes associated with calculating the rates that employers would pay. We would move to Schedule H, and the average payment of taxes employers would have become $1,800 per employee per year. That would be the UI tax rate. With House Bill 1278 becoming law, that average tax would be reduced to $850. So it would save every employer on average $950 per employee per year. In 2022, without taking action, the average tax would have been $1,670 per employer per year, per employee per year. And with this bill, the average tax is reduced from $1,670 to $790, saving the employer $880 per employee per year. And this has nothing to do with the budget perspective. The unemployment tax assessment is run as a trust fund. The law does specify the rates at which employers would pay into the trust fund and the benefits that would be earned should someone become unemployed.